Welcome to another marvelous Monday. What does it mean to be creative? Is there just one way to be creative or more? Let's learn together.
When I have a worry-filled mind, I like to wander outside. No telling what we might find. Birds calling, worms crawling, leaves falling down from above. Oh, I plant my feet on the ground. I keep my head in the clouds. I let my feelings out loud. I hear joy calling, fear crawling, tears falling down out of love.
Hi friends, I am nearly jumping up and down with excitement today about our topic, creativity. I am definitely in the green zone, approaching the yellow zone. I'm so excited. What zone are you in right now? Will you take a moment to think about the different color zones? Once you've identified your color zone, go ahead and find an object nearby that matches the zone you're in right now. Did you find something? I found something green to match the zone I'm in. Thanks for taking a minute to check in with your zone and find an object that describes the color zone you're in right now. I'm also really excited and looking forward to talking about our date today because it is a brand new month. Last time we were together, it was the 9th month, or the month of September, and now we're in the 10th month. Do you know the name of the 10th month in our year? October, yes. And I am wondering if anyone has any October birthdays. Maybe this is the month where you celebrate your birthday. Maybe your grown-ups celebrate their birthday in this month of October. I know I have some people who are really important to me, some really close friends who celebrate their birthdays in October. So happy birthday to all those people celebrating this month. Before we get started with our exercise, I want to check in with Fig and see what they are showing us. Let's make some observations. What do you notice about the shape of their body? What type of move or exercise do you think they have? You can make some guesses and we'll check back in with them shortly. To start us off with 10 moves, I thought we could do 10 jumps because, like I said, I'm jumping up and down with excitement this morning, and also celebrating or thinking about celebrating all those October birthdays is making me want to have some big body moves. So 10 jumps to start us off. Make sure you're in a safe space to do this. You can get creative if you want and do some spinning jumps or however else you can think to do jumps. I'm just going to do 10 regular old jumps. Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. Now we need 4 moves. Maybe we can do 4 spins? Great. Let's do it. Remember, if you don't want to spin your whole body, if you think you'll get too dizzy, you can also try spinning your finger or spinning your head, whatever feels comfortable. Let's do 4 spins. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And finally, Fig, what should we do 21 of? 21 kicks. That's pretty creative. Thanks, Fig. Similar to when we were doing our jumps and spins, make sure you're in a space where you have room to kick. If you're close by other people, maybe make sure your kicks are small. If you have a lot of space to yourself, make your kicks as large as you'd like. Let's do 21 kicks. I'm going to do sitting kicks. You can do them however works for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Now, you may know, after we do our date exercise, I like to take some cool down breaths because usually my heart is beating quickly. Sometimes my brain feels a little confused or dizzy, especially if we spin. So I'm going to listen for a bell, and then I'll take a big breath once I hear it and let it out slowly. We'll do 3 big breaths together. Now, there are many creative ways that you can do different breathing activities. So maybe you did simple breaths like I did. Maybe you imagined your belly was a balloon and you were filling it up and then letting all the air out. Maybe you remember one that we tried together where you smell a flower and blow out a candle. However you like to take breaths is great, and there are lots of different ways that you can try. I mentioned that we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics today, creativity. So let's check out our message and see what else there is to learn. As I open up to our message today, make sure you are able to scoot in and see each of the words really carefully. It says, "Dear creative kiddos, we've talked about some of the ways we are different and some of the ways we're the same. But did you know that we can all be creative in different ways too? Creativity can come in many forms, from making a drawing, solving a problem, designing a spectacular structure, among other things. Creativity can come out in the ways we work, think, play, talk, make, and more. Isn't that thrilling? Love, Mrs. A." I think creativity is one of my most favorite topics because it can show up in so many different ways. And there were some examples in the message here, but I'm wondering if you can think of any more. How else can you be creative? You can be creative in the way you dress. Yeah. You can be creative in the way you eat. You can be creative in the ways you write, make stories. Oh, so many ways to be creative. Did anyone notice any creative alliterations in our message today? There were several hiding. Good luck finding them. Before we get to our book today, which talks a little bit about creativity, I wanted to share some ways that you can get creative right now. Sometimes we find ourselves feeling stuck or in a slump. We're not sure exactly what to do to get us thinking creatively or doing things creatively. And so there are a couple different ways you can start being creative right now. The first way is if you find my Patreon and become a patron. I have lots of different activities, and each month I make new ones to match the topics we're talking about. And since we're talking about creativity this month, I thought I'd make some creativity cards, but I thought I would pair it with another favorite thing of mine, which is nature. And so I have some creative nature play cards. And this is just an example of one of the things you'll find if you go ahead and click on my Patreon and support me as I make these videos and create these activities and games for you all to try at home. Another way that you can get creative right now is by visiting the link in my description for an app called Kidiosity. And Kidiosity is an app that inspires families and grown-ups to have conversations and get creative together. And so I would really recommend you check out Kidiosity. We'll be hearing a little bit more about them, and I'll show you how their app works in a future video. Now, I have a book to share with you, and this book is an example of how you can be creative, but it's also by an author and an illustrator who was incredibly creative in the way that he communicated. This book is called A House for Hermit Crab, and it is written and illustrated by Eric Carle. And Eric Carle was an author and an illustrator, and so that means he wrote words and made pictures that I think were really creative. He was inspired a lot by nature, and he did some really beautiful, incredible work, and this is one of his many, many books. And in A House for Hermit Crab, we'll meet a hermit crab who is outgrowing his house or his shell. And I just want to share a few pages with you so you can see some of the ways that I noticed this hermit crab being creative, and maybe you'll be inspired by this hermit crab as well. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the sea floor. "How handsome you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to decorate my house?" "I would," signaled a little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. "How sturdy you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would you mind if I rearranged you?" "Not at all," answered the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. "Now my house is perfect," cheered Hermit Crab. So here, Hermit Crab approached some pebbles. Have you ever seen pebbles or small rocks nearby? Yeah, and maybe you've not thought twice about them, but Hermit Crab saw these pebbles and thought, "Oh, they are so sturdy. They'll be perfect for protecting my house." So he had some creative thinking for sure. And here's the last page we'll share together. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. "Couldn't stay in that little shell forever," said Hermit Crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered, but Hermit Crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, a little plain. But then, sponges, he thought, barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. So when Hermit Crab found this new shell, this shell that would be a better fit for his growing body, he at first thought it was plain and then noticed all of the things around him that he could use and be creative with. And he said, "Oh, there are so many possibilities." And friends, I think that's what excites me most about creativity, is that there's no limit to it. There are so many possibilities. We talked about some of the different ways we can be creative, but there is no way you can just max out your creativity. You can be creative and think of new ways and try new things and use new materials forever and ever and ever. And I think that is pretty marvelous. For our mindful moment today, I thought we could use a certain type of creativity called our imagination. And when we use our imagination, we often pretend something that isn't really happening. So we might envision or imagine pictures in our head. We might actually start to hear sounds as we pretend. We might pretend and see things as we use our imagination. And so for our mindful moment, I would like to do some mindful stretching. And this stretch is called the swan dive. So what you need to do is stand up with your feet touching and put your arm out nice and wide so you make the letter T. And we're going to bend over and try to touch our toes or our shins or our knees, whatever's most comfortable. And as we do this, we'll pretend that we are swans diving into the water. So we'll use a little creativity today. Let's do this for 5 big breaths, nice and slowly. Very slowly, come on up back to that nice big T shape and settle back into your seat. I'm wondering what you notice in your body. Are there any parts that feel different than before we did our swan stretch? Any parts that feel more comfortable or feel less comfortable? Thanks so much for sharing, and thank you for taking that mindful moment with me. Friends, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you make it a great day, and remember to like and subscribe and check out my description if you want to learn more about how to support me on Patreon or that Kidiosity app I was telling you about. I am so glad you joined me today, and I will see you next time.